Welcome to Out of the Past, Mr. Gil Ballance. Mr. Ballance, nice to see you. 93 years old. That's right, isn't it?
Almost a couple of months, you got it right, Lee.
Is this your newest career? Are you going to be writing another book soon? The reason I ask that is people who I've talked with who've read your book can't wait for the next one. They want to know whatever happened to Leah and the children and so forth. It is a very, very good book.
Are you going to follow through with other books?
No, I'm not. I've had some illnesses. The right hand is paralyzed almost completely. But if a reader will go to the epilogue, the very last thing in the book, they'll find everything right there they want to know, I think. And I'm grateful for your question and for other people who've asked the same question.
I remember my old high school English teacher telling the class that said if you want to write a successful novel, you should make sure you know your subject well. Is this book autobiographical?
Yes. In the book itself, I have an author's note, and I'm delighted you asked that question. I wanted a locale, and I wanted characters that were real. So the book is based primarily on my family, and unless you knew them, and unless you knew me, you'll never know where the fiction begins and ends and the reality begins and ends. But I did not want to deceive the reader, so I made it quite clear in my author's note that it is about my family. There are some real historical figures in the book, so I wanted to read like an autobiography again, as I said, but I did not want to fool the reader.
Well, now this takes place in eastern North Carolina, doesn't it? Around Elizabeth City. I guess that's the biggest city around that area, isn't it?
Yes, it's about 30 miles below Norfolk, Virginia, near the Outer Banks of North Carolina. And Elizabeth City is the most northeastern city in the state of North Carolina. Now, Lee, there are villages northeast of there between Elizabeth City and the great Outer Banks. But Elizabeth City is the most northeastern of the cities in North Carolina.
It's been getting very good reviews. I saw one which said that it was an important new addition to North Carolina history.
I think I saw that quotation somewhere.
Yeah, you did. That is a blurb on the back of the book written by a man named Simpson, who for years was in charge of the creative writing program at the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill. And he writes a great deal about eastern North Carolina. And I was absolutely delighted that Bland Simpson would write such a nice thing. The Great Dismal Swamp, the most northern of the great southern swamps, encompasses part of 5 counties in that area of the state. It also creeps up into southern Virginia. It's a wonderful place, and I wanted that place in my book because it was real. It's 10,000 years old, and I've crushed seashells walking in that swamp. Been there ever since the sea receded 10,000 years ago to its present location on the Outer Banks of North Carolina. It's a wonderful area.
Now, did the success that you're having come as a surprise, or did you kind of figure, hey, I know this is going to be this good and get a lot of press? Or were you surprised?
Lee, I'm absolutely amazed. I have been delighted with my students who have their blurbs on their internets, and they have just told about the book from one group to another. Some of my students are in their 80 years, and they are some of my most wonderful supporters, and I've been amazed at the number of books sold. I'll tell you this at the risk of boasting, but I'm delighted. One bookstore employee said to me, "You have sold more books through this store than some nationally known writers, and you are not known. You're a nobody." I said, "You're right, honey. I am a nobody, but I'm delighted." But I taught thousands of students over many, many years, and they have been marvelous in treating me and admiring the book as well as other people.
Yes, I certainly take issue with You Are Nobody because you've had at least 2 or 3 careers before this one. You were originally, I guess, your career was radio, and you were manager of a station at one time, and then went into teaching. And my gosh, when did you were in the began teaching what, in the 40s?
1948. Yes, I had studied broadcasting in the early days before TV was ever known. And I was in on the ground floor at Chapel Hill. And then I later went to Wake Forest University. I went to Northwestern University, where I was assistant program director of WNUR. And later I was manager of a college station. But of all the experience I've had, I love teaching best because I had students that were amazing, and I was absolutely delighted. I came to Charlotte, North Carolina for 1 year in 1948. I've been here ever since and loved every minute of it. It was a wonderful career.
Mr. Ballance, earlier I mentioned that you remind me a lot of my old high school English teacher. In fact, you look an awful lot like him.
Really? Well, that's a great compliment. Thank you. I appreciate that. He must have been a nice guy.
Yes, he was. And I think his name was Gil Ballance, too. Isn't that a coincidence?
Thanks for being our guest, Mr. Ballance. It's good to see you again. I hope you'll return to our show soon. Plus, I'd like to talk to you about that grade I got in your English class. Did you grade on the curve or something? Thanks a lot.